Alright, in this video we are going to be talking about changes that could be made to GPO. I know I've made videos like this before in the past, but to be honest with you, I had no idea what to record today, and this was like the first idea that really came to my head, and it has been at least a few months. I don't really know, I'm not going to check, at least a few months since I've made a video like this. So I figured that my ideas will be different enough. I hope I don't end up just copying what I said in my last videos, but if I do, well, that's too bad. So yeah, let's just get into those changes. Okay, so change number one should be more mobility based moves, just in general, not limited to fruits or fighting styles, or they should just add more mobility moves in general to other fighting styles, because in the game right now the best mobility move is Geppo, right? And that's with Rokushiki and with Blackleg. If you're not using those fighting styles, you're putting yourself at a huge disadvantage in comparison to other people, because you can kind of just spam that and you can be like a hard to hit moving target through the air all the time. If you don't have it, then you're limited to the ground and you're limited to just dashing side to side to avoid things, to avoid skills, and some skills are kind of unavoidable in that sense. For example, like Magma Eruption, the only like easy way to avoid that skill is to just Geppo, because it sets out like a medium-sized AoE around, you know, the player. So not having that puts you at a huge disadvantage. So I think there should be a universal way, like a universal mobility move that anybody can get. Maybe it's not as good as Geppo. Maybe Geppo is something that is limited to Blackleg and Rokushiki to kind of incentivize you to actually use those fighting styles. But it should be something like some sort of dash, or maybe being able to Geppo but just less, like only being able to Geppo twice consecutively. I don't really have the idea for this. I just think that, like, a specific idea for this, I just think that there should be either A, more just mobility moves in general, like for other fighting styles, or B, a universal mobility move that everybody can use and that everybody can, you know, take advantage of. Because, you know, some fighting styles, like not having solid mobility moves or any mobility moves at all, like Fishman Karate doesn't have any, and it's a fighting style. It not having any puts it at a huge disadvantage in comparison to other fighting styles. So yeah, I know Mink has kind of one, Electro Dash, but it's not a very good one. It can be used to escape combos, but it's not solid. It literally just dashes you like a fair distance. It doesn't take you into the air at all. But yeah, just more mobility. Change number two, which I actually do remember from a previous video when I was discussing different ideas and different improvements that could be added into Update 5, was better bosses. So our bosses right now are kind of just like skill spamming just NPCs, and that's really it. That's all they are. They're just huge tanky NPCs that skill spam, you know, nothing really interesting. I think they should have improved AI and, you know, different skill patterns. So, you know, it actually takes skill. You know, if any of you have ever played Dark Souls, kind of similar to that, to where you can actually beat the NPCs like as if you're 1v1ing them, but it would just take an incredible amount of skill to do. And sure, it would be easier with a group of people, but it's still possible alone. Fighting bosses alone in GPO just doesn't really work. It's not something that the majority of people are capable of, or even anyone is capable of. It takes like half an hour, and it's just not what you're supposed to do. But yeah, just giving them attack patterns or even stages or cutscenes to the bosses could be very interesting, and it could really just like increase the immersiveness of the game and make it a lot more interesting, instead of just having it feel like, because grinding in GPO as is already feels like you're bandit beating, which is what it is. You're just bandit beating. But I don't want the bosses to just feel like tankier NPCs. It just isn't fun. The only boss that I can really think of that, you know, I think the best boss, the boss that's handled, you know, in the best way, was Eneru. He, you know, had like somewhat of an attack pattern. You could kind of predict what he was going to do. He was very tanky though, and he also did have two stages that forced you to use your armament hockey in the second one, and he would it would signify the second stage whenever he would use his ult, which was super cool. And his ult was way bigger than the player's ult would be, because the player would also be able to use this you know, obviously Goro, so the players could also use the skill, but his was way bigger, which was also pretty cool. I just think that boss is the best boss because his arena is also the best. It's at Skypiea, and he's like in the City of Gold, which is also super cool. But yeah, I just had the most fun ever grinding Eneru, and his boss drops, you know, were fun to get and all that. So I think more bosses, though I think the bosses should be better than Eneru. I think that, you know, they should be more like Eneru if we're heading in a certain direction. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Okay, change number 3, I feel like should be an obvious one considering the fact that it is a One Piece game and it is a pirate game, is better ship customization, just in general. Like everything that could be changed about ships should be improved. As of right now, ships are literally just used as a means of transportation from getting from one island to another. That is it. That is the only thing they are good for, and even then, there's some devil fruit mobility moves that are better at it than that. For example, a lot of people, I mean, it's not better than, but a lot of people rely on Ice Bike to get around. Some people Geppo from island to island if their stamina regen is high enough, and obviously if you have Light Flight, you don't even consider the idea of using a boat. But ships should have a reason to be used. The best ships in the game should not be just one-person ships that, you know, get you from point A to point B fastest. Well, they can be, but not for everything. I feel like ship battles should be something that should be considered, you know, actually having a reason to buy cannons, because you can buy cannonballs. There are 2 types. There's a normal cannonballs and shotgun cannonballs. Nobody uses either, though. You know why nobody uses either? Because they do too little of damage and they are too useless for literally anything, too hard to aim, too hard to use, and you could only use them in very, very, very specific circumstances. But actually adding ship battles, adding ship customization, adding different ships would be interesting, other than just like literally like the 3 main ones, like a rowboat, a dinghy, I think, and a galleon. It's kind of, it's not a dinghy. What even is a dinghy? What's the I don't know, the middle boat. There's a rowboat, a galleon, and a middle one. I don't know. But yeah, there's no reason to use like any of the cannons ever, and there's like, arguably you could use them to take out sea beasts. They do too little of damage though. You're better off using literally like anything, literally like almost anything else. So yeah, I wouldn't use those. But yeah, just it's odd that it's a One Piece game where the boats are taken like into such little consideration. Also, I don't know if any of you have seen One Piece. It would be kind of weird if you haven't and you're playing a One Piece game, but the main boat, the Thousand Sunnies in One Piece, has like cool abilities. Like it can literally has different forms, and like you can shoot with it, like shoot into the air. It's pretty cool. This game has got nothing like that. I'm not saying you add something like that instantly, but I'm just saying take that into consideration. The fact that boats are a big part of the One Piece universe, and the fact that boats aren't really taken into consideration in GPO is just a little alarming. I'm not asking for a whole game mode where you rely on boats, but I'm just saying somehow find a way to implement it more into the game. But yeah, just boats in general. More boats, more customization, more reason to use them, incentivize it somehow. I don't know. Okay, I know I didn't cover that many ideas in this video, and I hope you guys forgive me for that, but those are like the main ones that really came to my head was, you know, just boats, bosses, and what was my first one? Oh, mobility. Yeah, those are just like problems I have with the game that, you know, aren't really discussed too much, like, because I could have said things like, oh, we need more game modes, and oh, balance changes, but those are ones like everybody's always talking about, or like, oh, people want these quality of life changes and increased game mechanics to incentivize to keep playing the game after you hit max level, and people always do talk about those, but I wanted to talk about, you know, different things that everybody else isn't talking about, so I decided to talk about these. And I know the boats one is kind of talked about by everyone else, but it is what it is. So yeah, I hope you guys don't hate my opinions too much. If you have any suggestions for things along this topic, please, I would love to hear them. You know, I read my comments, or I try to as much as I can. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.